Hello, Oracles. Sorry, just hopping on here, had some technical difficulties. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me. I know this is earlier than I had mentioned yesterday. My son's ended up having a soccer game this evening, so I made the adjustment. And quite honestly, I like the 420 live streams, but if I can catch this during market close, it's really nice. Plus, I think more of you from around the world can get on at this time as well. But again, you guys let me know what you prefer. And when I do get to do this full time, I will do what makes you guys happy because that's what this is all about, you guys. So let's take a look here. Willie. Sorry, just going through the comments already. Oh, nice, Willie. Sorry, I'm just reading your comment here about what you've been doing. All right, so we're gonna take a look at the charts because it's market's not closed yet. So let's take a look here where we are at. Sorry, I had to reboot my computer. Had a whole lot of stuff just kind of go away. I had my entire valuation model updated for the quarterly numbers, and that whole spreadsheet got deleted. So I had to go in and quickly redo it in about 8 minutes. Made that all happen. So I'll bring up the charts here. I'll leave myself on the screen for it as well, just because we'll watch this together. So it looks like Tesla not doing much today, down barely a quarter, not even a 1/4% today. So really not moving much at all. Again, going into tomorrow, I think just there's right now kind of a pause. Not not intentionally saying a pause like with the Fed, but I think there's a pause right now with people just kind of holding their breath, waiting to see what we get for numbers tomorrow. So even intraday, like we didn't move much. A $4 swing in both directions, 266 to 270. That's not a big swing at all. So really just kind of holding it. And I mean, volume is super, super low. 82 million shares trading hands. I know we have a half hour left, and we usually get a good chunk of volume in the last half hour, but we may get a little sell off here with that uncertainty going into tomorrow. But again, CPI data that we get is going to be later in the afternoon. We get it in the morning, 8:30. I'm thinking of FOMC meeting. So 8:30 Eastern time tomorrow morning, we will get that number. So again, we'll have that number before market opens. So there's a little bit of selling going on right now because the rest will be during pre-market. What's going on, Karav? Yeah, I was just chatting with Karav beforehand, discussing our numbers, and he brought something to my attention about my average selling price. So I made a minor adjustment on that, which Karav, I'll let you know because I didn't give you the updated number of my EPS. But what's going on, Sunchi? Willie, let's see here. Building long calls as fast as I can. December 300s. Nice. I don't do the options yet. I know some of you guys do. I don't do the options. The way I play options are through the ETFs like TSLY because I don't have enough money in the market to play options yet. And quite honestly, if I do well with the ETFs, maybe I just go that route. But it is something I would like to learn. So those of you guys who have been doing it, I will definitely reach out for some advice. For those of you guys who are over on Twitter, I'm sure many of you know Kendall. Kendall's awesome. I was chatting with him earlier today. He has quite a bit of knowledge when it comes to energy when it's over in California. So chatting with him, I'm going to have him on the channel as well. We're going to be discussing energy because California, obviously being one of the first adopters for Tesla and EVs, when it comes to the energy grid over there and being able to handle EVs, he has a lot of knowledge about all of that. So I'm going to pick his brain on the whole entire energy business over there, how Tesla can affect it, how EVs can, come in without really affecting the grid, or if they even affect the grid at all, or if that's just a mainstream propaganda thing that's going out there. So we'll be looking about having Kendall on here. Don't know when, but once he gets some of his information gathered together and I have my questions for him together, I'll shoot them over to him and I'll let you guys know when we're going to do that. Because energy obviously is going to be a massive role in Tesla in the future. Raymond, what's going on? Hi, Tim. What will be the market favorable CPR number for tomorrow? Let me jump into that. I've got all of those numbers up here as well. So we will drop the charts for a moment. Let's see here. Oh, I wonder if I can do that. Can I do this? Let's see here. I was watching Jumanji before I came on. I've actually never watched that whole movie. Unbelievable. I've never watched it. So looking at CPI year over year, get out of here. Stupid pop-ups. Ads. So looking at CPI for tomorrow is a 3.1 forecast. So the 3.1 forecast is important. I think anything in line with that is good. I think if we come into like a 3.5, it's not going to be pretty. But I had mentioned in this morning's video, the more important number to look at is going to be the core. So looking at core year over year, this is the sticky part. So sticky part here is it's been 5.3%. It's moved down, but ever so slow. And we even had a little tick up here. So slowly coming down. And this is what the Fed can actually control is core. And so what we're basically seeing is what the Fed can control, they do not have as good of control of. Meanwhile, everything else has been moving in the right direction. So the question then comes down to, where's the disconnect? So if the overall headline number of the CPI has been coming down significantly, but we've got core is being sticky, the Fed is going to need to continue to go up on rates because they want the interest rate number to be above the inflation number. Currently, right now, it's not. So that is what's happening. And yes, Karav, you are absolutely right. Housing is making the core lag. So this is kind of where, again, those signs are pointing to the fact that we are looking at a market that needs to see one last piece fall, and that's the housing market. So the Fed will continue to go up on interest rates until that last piece falls. The housing market is still hot. Everybody still keeps saying it's got to come down. Meanwhile, people are like, well, what if it doesn't come down? And they keep buying anyway. So this is kind of where we're at currently, and it's just going to take some time for that piece to fall. This is why the Fed says they may need to go up on interest rates. So when we start looking at the core number here, that core number comes in still at 5% or 5.1 or a little bit over 5% itself. The Fed is definitely going to be going up on interest rates by probably 25 basis points in this FOMC meeting on July 25th. That there is going to continue scaring the market because, again, all of these signs pointing to it. Now, again, the market knows this. The market knows that this is going on. They're going to push up the stock market as much as they can, knowing that we're about to get this pullback because they want as many profits as they can get. So the market manipulators will drive it up. Whether we've started the downward trend or not yet, I don't know, but that's what the market's looking at. They're going to drive the prices as high as they can. Historically, that's what happens. Fed pauses, the market pushes the stock market as high, the prices as high as they can go to all-time highs, and then bang, we get that drop that comes down, and they're going to be way ahead of it. So you'll see institutions and hedge funds will drop the price first. And of course, us as retail investors don't know what's going on. So we're like, well, it's going to bounce back. How far is it going to fall? We don't know. And then as it's, already fallen significantly, that's when people start to sell out instead of waiting through it. That causes the market to fall even further. So yeah, going back to your question, Raymond, about CPI number, I think the core numbers are what we want to look at. And looking at the 5%, that's going to be kind of where we're at is core coming down, and even I think I do have core month over month on here. Let me see. I do. Okay. So looking at core month over month, that's looking at a 0.3 versus 0.4 last month. So yes, that is moving in the right direction, but it's still sticky. And it's still slow. So, to Karav's point, we've got to wait for that housing market to come down. That's really a big chunk of what's holding it up. So yeah. We'll wait on that. Oh, can I do this? Oh, no, I can't. Oh, well, I'll bring the charts back up as we're waiting end of market. Yeah, I mean, we're just kind of hovering. I don't think we're going to move much from here. Probably going to stick around that 269 level. And yeah. Going on, Moose. Tanking the market will drop. To drop inflation is like cutting off a leg to lose weight. It is. I know it is. And unfortunately, what ends up happening with the Fed, and the hard part is their main job is price stability. And currently right now, we don't have that. Like it may seem like we've got price stability, but we truly don't. Price stability is not there. And the Fed really needs to make sure they come in and keep that. And in order to do that, they really have to kind of run us to the bottom and hit a floor and then slowly build us up from there. Because, when you've got the housing market is going crazy, unemployment is still in employees' favor, but you've got the stock market is still going up. There's such a disconnect with everything there that is not price stability. So they need to work on that. Fed will raise one more time, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. I know it's going to be at least one. They said two. They've basically stuck with their guns and done everything they've told us they were going to do all along. So for me, the way I look at it is they'll most likely do a 25 basis point hike here in July. Then they have a break until September. So we're going to end up having PCE data for July. We're going to have CPI and PPI and PCE for August, plus all the unemployment numbers. Then we go into September, and I'll have to take a look and see when the September FOMC meeting is. Let me see. FOMC calendar. Let me see. The calendar for this year, September's is the 20th and 21st. So come September, we're still going to get the September CPI and PPI data as well. There's a lot of information, inflation data that we are going to be getting prior to the next FOMC meeting after July. So we might get one in July. And if the numbers don't look favorable going into September, we might get that next one in September. So the third quarter here might actually pan out to be quite uncertain, just a lot of uncertainty. So my mother-in-law is a realtor and she's slow at the moment. Yeah, I mean, it's wild because like around here, I'm in Connecticut, and I've been looking at multifamily homes, and there's not a lot for options because I think a lot of people, especially in the beginning, were looking at investment style purchases. Let me buy something that can actually bring me in some cash flow. So most of the options I have out here are a lot that need a lot of work. There's nothing that's just like, hey, let me buy and be ready to go. And when I do see those, they're scoffed up really quick. So I think there's a lot of people who understand that we're kind of at the top of the housing market and they want to dump as much as they can, but there's not a lot of people buying with the interest rates where they're at right now. So people are buying in cash. And that's the thing, is there's still a lot of cash that's out there. People are buying it in cash. So, oh my gosh, we're actually going positive in these last few minutes. Wow. Way to go, Tesla. And actually, I don't even have the indices up here. I wonder if I can get the indices on here. I'm going to have to look into that. That's really important to have, is the indices. Whoa. Chill out, charts. What is going on? There we go. Much better. Yeah, I always like to see how the charts are doing based upon the indices as well, but I'm gonna have to work on getting that up here also. So anyway, yeah, the housing market, and that's it. Is it's slow, but there's some inventory out there, but it's not the best inventory. And then I've noticed that single family homes are still way overpriced, and that's kind of where we're at. Is the single family homes super overpriced? Multifamily homes, nothing much available that people want to buy unless they want to fix it up or buy it in cash. Yeah, inflation is a result of printing money, not pricing. And that's the other thing too, is the Fed still has a good chunk of their balance sheet they need to run off. And the Fed keeping on raising the debt ceiling doesn't help, because they raise the debt ceiling, so we have to print more money, which means that inflation can go back up. It's not a good cycle that we're in. We really need to cut our spending as a government. Tim, wherever your screen mountain and lake is, I am moving there. Retirement after. So that there, I don't know if that's just an AI generated one. It was just, I just looked up mountains. I usually try to pick a location, but today I was again in a rush, so I just threw up any location. So wherever that is, either way, places like that. I don't know if housing is allowed there, but I would love it to be. Yeah, you're right. The ones causing inflation, aka the Fed, got us in a pickle by counterfeiting. It's so funny because the Fed's allowed to print money, but if we ever did it, that would be illegal, and we'd all go to jail. What are mortgage rates in the U.S. and the U.K.? They just hit 6.6%, highest in nearly 18 years. They're the highest they've ever been here as well. They're between 6 and 8% also, depending on credit levels. So yeah, we're well over 6% here as well. I haven't even looked at mine recently because they're so stinking high, and I haven't seen anything that I want to buy. Plus, with my current work situation, I might not be buying in the current area I'm living. The only friends that I have are my work friends, and they're pretty cool. And I don't mind living out here, but like the majority of my family and friends and everybody I grew up with and know really, and I'm close to, are on the other side of the state. So I may end up moving there. Timing wise, by the time I buy, maybe I'll buy anywhere I want. Who knows? Maybe I'll buy a house by that lake and mountain, kind of with the timing of what's going on. So, uh, all right, here's what Karav's got. Fixed numbers. Quarter one average selling price was 45,976 x credits, and gross margin was 18.5 x credits. Okay, um, so I am going to take a look at mine because my average selling price in Q1 was yeah, mine was higher than that because mine was not X credits. Or mine, yeah, mine is actually, I wonder how mine works out. Yeah, mine is all X credits, and mine is way higher than that. Hmm. So then my question is my average selling price going to be too high? So looking at my numbers here, and my spreadsheet is very, very ugly, just because again I had to whip it together. So I'm not going to share it here. I want to doctor it up. I'm going to get it completely finalized. So again, the numbers I'm going to share with you guys are totally rough numbers right now because I put it together and didn't have a chance to dial it in. I will be doing a live stream this Sunday with Peggy, and I will have the numbers updated by then for you guys for my final estimates prior to earnings. But based upon what I have right now, I've got average selling price of 48,000. But again, if 45,000 is what we saw in Q1, basically 46,000 X credits, I may have to doctor mine down a little bit. And the margins X credits is 18.5. I currently have it at 20. So with an average selling price of 48,000 and margins at 20% based upon the delivery numbers that we got, I didn't adjust those any. I have an EPS at that point of 84 cents. So that's currently where I'm at. Again, I need to adjust things. I do have energy coming in at $2 billion. I think they're going to hit 2 billion for the first time. So I have energy at 2 billion, and yeah, that's so 84 cents is where I'm at for EPS. So again, I'm going to update all of my numbers accordingly for this weekend. So that may change, but right now I've got 84 cents. Oh yeah, Crop. I'm very much looking forward to it. Peggy and I like to go back and forth. I'll be on his channel, he'll be on mine. And it's so hard because of the time zone changes, but soon he'll be back in Toronto. So we'll be able to do live streams more often. Low inventory due to people not wanting to trade their sub 3 and 4% interest rate for the current 7%. That's true. I think what's happening in the housing market too is there's a lot of people out there who are just looking to sell. Like maybe they have several homes and they're just trying to free up some cash because they're like, oh, we're at the top here, and they'll buy in later, but they're going to free up the cash now for whatever they'll buy. Anything will just sit on the cash and wait. And I cannot remember how long they need to wait between, because you can roll that over as long as they roll it over. I want to say I don't know if it's 6 or 12 months. So as long as they roll that money over into another home, they don't have to pay taxes on it. They don't have to pay the capital gains on it. So that's what a lot of people are doing, is I think they're selling and waiting for the market to pull down to buy back in. Of course, this has been going on for 6 to 12 months. I know somebody in my comments called me out on it earlier because I've been saying 6 to 12 months we're expecting this. And I've been saying that for like 6 months now. So you're absolutely right. And it just keeps on getting pushed down the road. So maybe the timing's off. I keep saying 6 to 12 months, but just waiting. I don't know the timing exactly. So sorry, I just keep sticking with 6 to 12 months, but that's kind of where I'm at. And again, going into the election year next year, I don't think either party is going to want us to be in some sort of economic distress going into the elections, because that's not good. But who knows? Maybe they're going to have no choice and we're going to be stuck with it. So yeah. Essentially, let's see. Hey, Tim, can you talk about TSLY a little bit? How long does someone have to hold it in order to get the dividend payment? Yeah, so TSLY I think is absolutely awesome. Gort and I have been talking about it a lot lately. And TSLY, they pay out monthly. Typically, their X date is within the first week of the month. There's a whole entire calendar that, let me see if I can find it, because Gort shared it with me. So if I can find this calendar for you guys, I will pop it up on the screen so you can see. Oh, there it is. Beautiful. Let me see if it'll allow me to share this. Excellent. All right. So here is the dates. So the X date here is you usually want to buy 2 days. So T+2, because you want to make sure that those shares have settled. So you want to buy it 2 days ahead of time. So for instance, the X date this month was 7/7. I bought my last shares on 7/5. The record date is 7/10. So that's the date it's going to go out. And then the payment date is 7/17. So on the 17th, any shares that you held on 7/7 will get there. So the declaration date, that's the date that they announce how much the payout is going to be. So of course it comes out a day after that T+2 or so, but the declaration date. So this month they're paying out $1.06 per share. Absolutely insane. And so that is all there. And then the payment date. So for every share you held on the X date of 7/7, you'll get paid out on the 17th. So this calendar here, if you guys want to jot these dates down for anybody who wants TSLY, go right ahead. And so again, you want to buy ahead of time. So for the X date for next month, you want to buy by 8/2. And for me, I'm waiting for earnings because again, earnings can be up in the air. Who knows what's going to happen? We've got a lot of the S&P people need to come out for the second half. They're going to give their guidance for the second half of the year. In that process, that could be enough for the market to get spooked between that interest rates going up and everything, where it could pull the market down significantly. If that happens and Tesla drops with it, I'm going to want to scoop up quite a bit of shares of TSLY because it'll drop, but it doesn't drop as much as Tesla does. So as Gort and I had discussed, you want to buy TSLY if Tesla itself if TSLA is coming down or if it's trading sideways. You'll do very well with TSLY in that case because you're going to get the dividends. So while Tesla itself is going down, you get paid. While Tesla itself is trading sideways, you get paid. Very nice. Now, it's not guaranteed that they're going to continue to go with these $6 per month dividends. There was 1 month where they only did 44 cents. Still pretty significant, but not anywhere near $6. So I'm dumping more and more money into it, but I don't want to do everything because it's still uncertain as to where it goes. I don't know if they're ever going to get to a point where they have to liquidate everything because the market crashes entirely. So I want to be cautious with it, but I still want to take that little bit of a risk, especially with what I have going on in my job life. I'm at a point where I'm okay with an F it type situation where I'm like, let me dump more money in this, F it, let's see what happens, and I'll try to make some money here and then clear it out later. Now, I am doing this both in my IRA and my main account. The IRA, I do not have to pay taxes on. My main account, I will. So I do factor that in, knowing at the end of this year, I'm going to have to pay taxes. I've taken a loss on quite a few stocks this year already. So I've offset some of those gains, but I will be in a place where I'll have so many gains that I will have to pay taxes on it this year. That's also why it's awesome to have a side gig, because you have a side gig and guess what? There's a lot of expenses that go into that. Then I can write off even more stuff that I'm using on a regular everyday basis that will offset my gains as well. Smart plays. These are some of the things I talk about with people in my side business as well. Oracle Investments, it's not just a channel that I have here. It's something I do and I help other people with also. Little things like this, little tips and tricks I can give people along the way to help them. So let me, seeing as the market's getting closer to close, I'll bring the charts back up. And hey, I mean, we're just above green, basically flat, but or at least we're green flat. So Sunchi, hopefully that answered your questions. If you have any more, please feel free to ask. Let me see. All right, so 18.5 was your estimate for Q2. 18.1. Oh, 18. Yeah, 18. I thought it was around 19%. So I did bump it up to 20% for mine, but I'm also curious if they cut costs. That to me is the big piece. Is as Zach Kirkhorn had mentioned on the earnings calls, their focus now really is operating margins. They're looking at less costs when it comes to exports from China over to Europe because Berlin's been handling more and more of the domestic deliveries over in Europe. So there's less of that expense that's going on. That could bring up those lower prices. That could end up bringing up EPS. That's stuff that is harder to work in. But if I can start tracking things quarter over quarter for how are the actual costs going on for all of those exports, you can sort of track it and get a trend. Max real estate bottom is late next year. Really, you think it's going to take that long? Because usually the market. Well, actually, that might be about right, Willie, because the stock market tends to bottom. Or which way does it go? Is the stock market bottom 6 months before the housing market, or vice versa? I can't remember that. Either way, I think we're going to see the stock market bottom in Q2 of next year. That's my thoughts. Willie, TSLY is a YieldMax ETF where you get paid out in dividends based upon covered calls. And so what they do is it's all synthetic shares. So they don't actually own TSLA as a stock. The way they do it is they buy a lot of covered calls and they buy puts, or they sell puts to offset that. So they buy an equal amount on both ends to play that game in the middle. So it gives it looks like they own shares, but they truly don't. And that's how they play it. And because of the market and the volatility that we've been in, they've been able to make a significant chunk of money on all of this. So that's TSLY, and that's how it works. Oh, you can't buy TSLY, Moose. Oh, you're in the UK. That's right. Wow, you can't buy TSLY in the UK. That stinks. I'm sorry. If I could share some with you, I totally would. Looks like the rebalancing of the Magnificent Seven is coming to an end. Tesla is now reflecting Nasdaq and S&P index. Yeah, it's going on for right now. And I think Tesla, for the most part, it may break every once in a while. I think it's going to trade for the majority with the macro environment until we get to that actual bottom, and then it'll take a little while as we finally recognize that we're truly out of the woods, and the Fed has stabilized pricing. They started to come down on interest rates. So it may take about a year or so after the Fed pivots for the market to start recognizing that, and then for Tesla to start taking off again. What's going on, Steven? Crowd, keep in mind, just because they're cutting costs does not mean the average COGS will go down. The reason being that Berlin and Texas, which have higher COGS, will have a larger portion of production. That's true, but I don't know how that balances off with like actual shipping costs. Not having shipping costs, I would think, even though those have come down themselves, I would think that those would be more expensive than the actual COGS and cost of goods sold. That's what it is for you guys who don't know COGS, cost of goods sold. I don't know if the COGS for Berlin and Austin are that much more, if they were actually more than shipping costs. Again, we don't know that. I don't know. Maybe they'll tap into that on the earnings call. Maybe it's a question that'll be asked by somebody. Yeah, do COGS by factory model. You do a lot deeper analysis than I do, for sure. I do a lot more broad-based analysis, but COGS 36.9. Let me see where mine are at, if it's even accurate. Cost of goods sold. Let me, nope, that's not, where is it at? I have total expenses. Okay, but yours isn't a percentage. Man, why doesn't, I'll have to do the math on it. I don't have mine in expense, in percentage. I have total operating expenses myself at 1.8 billion. Is that correct? No, that can't be right. No. I'm so confused with numbers right now. We'll get back to that. Again, I'll update it all for this week, but yeah, mine are not there. Interesting. Anyway, sorry about that. Yes, I have to take a look at mine and see where mine are at for the quarter. Filming Ben, thanks Tim for cluing me into TSLY. Awesome. I bought 9 today to use spare money in my IRA. Missed the distribution this time. Yeah, and again, I think it doesn't drop as much as TSLA does. So if it comes down, I'm dollar cost averaging. I bought 5 more last week. I bought a few more yesterday as well. And for me, I'm just kind of watching it and just going to see where it goes. Okay. Oh, that's why auto cost of goods sold. Oh, I don't even know if I have auto cost of goods sold and deliveries. Wow. Yeah. You really dial in numbers. That explains why my number was so off from where yours was. Because my auto expenses, mine is just like as Tesla breaks it down, my auto expenses, let me see, legal margins, expenses, sales. Yeah, no, that's mine doesn't break down. Total auto expenses. Yeah, I don't break mine down like yours. Yours is way more in depth than mine. So yeah, actually, let me take a look at TSLY because yeah, the charts we're basically closing flat right now, which is totally fine. Again, going into tomorrow morning, I think there's a lot of uncertainty, and and again, TSLY also basically flat. And there is a gap above us in TSLY, and then the few little gaps below us. So again, if we pull down, this is why I don't go too heavy in it, because if I am anticipating a pullback, even if it's coming down, I'll just DCA into it as we pull down into TSLY to net those dividends. But again, if you dump all of your money in now, and not to say this is going to happen, but if, for instance, this happens, you dump all your money in, and then we end up getting a pullback in TSLY, it'll take you some time to be able to get yourself back in the green because you've lost value in equity. And that's one of the things that I have my spreadsheet built out for, is to track what the net value of equity is in the ETF versus what I've made in dividends, to make sure I am still in the green, even if that ETF or the stock is pulling down. And, when it comes to TSLY, you can say, well, when it comes to any other stock, like a growth plays like an Apple or something that has a dividend, in the long term, you're assuming that's still going to be going up in price, and you don't have, high expense fees. The expense fees on TSLY are extremely high at 0.99%. That's very high. So the longer you hold it, the more you're going to pay to be able to hold that. So you don't really want to hold it for a long time. My plan as of right now is to hold it, dollar cost average into it as the market pulls down based upon my projections. Then when we hit that point where it's kind of the bottom, I will reverse course and I'll start to pull money out slowly as the market is coming back. And I'll put more of that money into TSLA and TSLL, because that'll net me more profits on the other side coming back out of it. That's currently my strategy. May change as I see things if they change. But as of what we see right now, that is going to be my change, or my plan. Karav, very off topic, but what do you think about creatine? Is it safe? Karav, for somebody of your age, don't worry about it. It's safe. There's been enough long-term studies on it right now. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. I did use it. I think I started using it when I was maybe in college. So again, I don't see anything wrong with it. I saw benefits from it. I currently do not use it. I might go back to use it. I don't know. It causes you to retain water quite a bit, so you put on weight just because of it. You kind of look fluffier, but as far as strength gains go, it's definitely beneficial. So for you though, I would say don't worry about it. Maybe wait a few more years, but I don't think you should have to worry about that. I prefer to go more natural stuff. Plus, what I've noticed too, not as much with creatine, but other supplements I've taken is, they cost money. And if I decide that I want to put my money elsewhere, if I don't have the money, then to come off of it, your body naturally does produce creatine. When you're putting more into your body, depending on how much you put in, your body may stop producing it. So then if you stop using it, you now have a lapse of time before your body starts producing it again. That could cause a little window of time for injuries. So you have to be careful. Nicholas, am I the only person believing Tesla could come down to the 140 range? Next month, the inflation base impact month over month is plus or minus 0%. So inflation will get back up, probably headline maybe to 4.5%. Nicholas, you are not the only one. I didn't think about it from that standpoint. That is a great point. But I do think that we are going to get back to the 140 range. I still have that 146 gap on my radar. I still have that 114 gap on my radar. I think getting down to the 100 to 110 level as an overreaction to the getting down to those levels is totally possible again. That's me. I know people hate me for saying it, but I have to keep my eyes open to the potential of it. We saw it happen last year, and we're still going up on interest rates, and the Fed still has the balance sheet to run off. We still have a hot housing market. I think it's still possible. So you're not the only one. I do think it's possible. CJ, good afternoon. Tomorrow's going to be fun with CPI. Yeah, it sure is, especially based upon how the market just closed right now. Having us close at, I'll bring up Tesla so we see where we actually closed at here. Closing at up 0.07%, and then dipping down after hours. So we're basically flat. Didn't really move much. And again, volume was really low at 91 million shares trading hands. So, looking at how low the volume is today, that to me is a signal of breath holding, especially going into tomorrow's CPI, Thursday's PPI, earnings coming in next week. There's a lot of uncertainty coming. So this is a good one too. If Musk and Zuck the fight goes through, it could drop to those levels. And I was talking to somebody else about it earlier today. That is totally possible. You have something like that is going to just upset people for unnecessary reasons, but they're going to sell off, just because they're like, why is he doing this? Like I've seen people, sell. One person where the heck was I reading it? Maybe it was in my comments. I think it was in my comments. And somebody had mentioned just that. They're like, this is, Musk he thought it was a genius, but now with this fight thing, he's not so sure. And I'm like, with everything else, this is exactly what I basically face with my employer right now, which is I could do 99 of 100 things right, but they're only going to notice the one thing I do wrong. And that's natural human behavior to recognize when something is out of place. But if that one thing is going to deter you from all of the other good things that have been going on, I don't know, man. That's not the way I roll. Let me see. I usually watch Meet Kevin live stream around 7:40 a.m. for him to explain CPI at 8:30. Yeah, I used to do the same thing. I just I have to work now, so I can't watch him. But I do like. I mean, he's very, very knowledgeable on things like that, so he can go in-depth analysis. So I appreciate what he says on that. Some of the stuff that he comes out with, it's not my favorite, but he is very knowledgeable on that stuff. Let me see. I see earnings plus Cybertruck alone popping us to 325 by end of the month. See, that's the thing is earnings. Because right now, looking at mine, if I have average selling price at 48,000 and I have margins at 20% with an EPS of 84 cents, I believe consensus estimate right now is 85 cents. So I'm coming in below that. Now, granted, I also missed when it came to deliveries. I was spot on with production, but my deliveries missed by a lot. So I'm adjusting how I calculate deliveries going forward so I can be more accurate. But now that I have actual delivery numbers, my EPS should be in line, but maybe I'm missing something else. And maybe I'm going to fall extremely short because I missed something else in there. So I'm just doing a little more adjusting, and I'm still learning over time on how to do this to keep myself accurate. Can you explain long-term implications of holding TSLL? Well, it goes up 1.5 times the rate of Tesla stock itself. So I don't know enough about any of the other fees that they have with it. They do pay out dividends, very small compared to what TSLY pays out. So the long-term implications, I actually don't know. Based upon what Gort says, and I know he has done a lot more research on it, sounds like long-term should be good. It's just going to go up more, but it's going to be a lot more volatile as well because, it's going to swing up and down 1.5 times what Tesla does. And Tesla already trades at a beta of 2.0 versus the broader market. So it's pretty significant. So you're going to have to, be able to brace yourself. If you think TSLA is volatile, just buckle up, Buttercup, because it's going to get wild with TSLL. Is the fight really going to happen, or is it just speculation? Is there an official date? It sounds to me like Elon's on board with it. So whether it's actually going to happen or not, I have no idea. There are still stupid, smart people. There are. That's one of the things even when I was younger, I recognized I was like, there's book smart and there's street smart. And some people do have both. But from what I have seen, a lot of people who are book smart don't tend to have as much street smarts. Meanwhile, street smart people either can become book smart or they have a tendency to be able to at least BS their way through enough book smart to get by because of their street smarts. So not to say that book smart people are stupid and they're not going to be able to have street smarts, but they have knowledge that's way beyond anything I could comprehend, but the common sense thing sometimes eludes them. Will, you're at 88 cents to 92 cents. That's right in consensus with a lot of people. So yeah, TSLY, be careful. That I am. And I always caution everyone, make sure you look at both sides of the coin. Never just go into it saying this is awesome. Always pay attention to the negative side of things. And that's why for me, I'm dipping my toes into the water little by little, the more good I see. And then if I see signs of negativity, I will pull out of it. So yes, definitely go into it with a caution for sure. The bet between the two should be if Musk wins, he gets ownership of Threads. Zuck wins, he gets Twitter. Oh, and I think Elon would win. Even though Zuck just won a tournament for what the heck was it? Wow, I'm totally losing my mind. But I know he just won a tournament. But I think Elon would still figure out how to win. I don't know. I would not want to see Zuck get a hold of Twitter. Please no. I don't like that as an option. I scalp options and use profits to buy real Tesla. That's a great strategy. That's sort of what I'm going to do with TSLY. Once I get myself to the point where I'm bringing in the dividends I want to see, if I do it in a reasonable amount of time, I'll start taking those dividends that I'm getting, put them into Tesla stock. Because again, if I time it right and I continue to build up those dividends with TSLY until we get to that what I think might be the bottom, start taking the dividends from TSLY, putting it into TSLA. As I come out of it, then I'll have more and more shares of TSLA. And that is the way I'm going to. Oh, jujitsu. Thank you. It was like on the tip of my tongue and I just couldn't get it out. Thank you. So yeah, if, that's currently my strategy, and also I'll go into both TSLL and TSLA, try to get as much as I can, because the TSLL, as that's going up, I can try to swing that back and forth, especially in my IRA. And then when I take profits there, I could put some back into TSLA, put it into TSLY, make some more dividends. It's nice to have these three for options, just to be able to kind of mix your money around and still make money off of all of it. Or they can have their bots fight Optimus versus Metabot. It'd be like a battle bots. That would be awesome. I would love to see that. Oh man. Yes, battle bots based upon their AI. That would be perfect. They don't control them. It's strictly based upon AI. That would be great. Oh man, I would love to see that. Some of the things that I had mentioned this morning. Oh, let me bring Twitter up here. Some of the things I had mentioned this morning in my video, for anybody who didn't get a chance to watch it, I'll pop it up here. Let me see. Going in. So it looks like Roland here talking about, let me get this on the screen for you guys. Oh, not that one. Let's do this. So we've got some good stuff. So Roland Percher, Model Y was June's best-selling car in China, United Kingdom, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Netherlands, Switzerland, Finland, Ireland, and Iceland. I mean, that's ridiculous. This is, again, we are going to be seeing just Tesla is going to be the Model Y is going to be the number one selling car in 2023. I have no doubts. We're already headed there. So I see it coming. Dean, yes, I do have Instagram. It's Oracle Investments with a 0 as the O. It actually in my description on the video, it should be in there as well for the link. Let's see. Holding TSLL for the last year has been rough. Not sure if it's been rough just buying TSLA. See, now TSLY didn't even come out until November, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, again, TSLL for the course of last year, that's painful for sure. So holding either one of them, not going to lie, John, holding TSLA also sucked. That sucked hard. But seeing as TSLL moves more than it, that must have sucked magnified 1.5 times. So. So let me see. Let's go back through here. So Roland, what else we got on here? That's this morning. Yep, Mercedes-Benz revealed that they have sold 56,300 EVs in Q2. I mean, good for them. Again, I'm the kind of guy who is I'm on board with the entire transition over to renewable energy and EVs. So the more other players who come in to do this, the better. That's good because they're going to expand people's horizons and really put it in people's faces because some people just are going to be so anti-Tesla that they're not going to want to do anything. So if other companies like Mercedes are doing this, good for them. That means that more people are going to get in there. Then they will get knowledgeable about Tesla. Maybe they won't hate them as much. And, who knows? But again, it's the entire world transitioning over. So, the electric vehicles account for 11% of their overall sales year to date. Good for them. I'm on board with that. And I was talking to my dad earlier, talking about how, he lives in California, rolling blackouts. And again, this is going back to Kendall, and this is kind of what spurred that on. He's like, the grid can't handle it. He's getting notifications of rolling blackouts in his area. Hasn't even hit it's just hitting 90. And hasn't even been hot yet this year over there. But they're talking about rolling blackouts. So he's concerned about EVs and the draw they pull on the grid and how much that's going to affect, everything going on. But, I've been hearing from enough people that they are working on the grid in California. But again, this is where Tesla comes into play. Tesla is going to be over there. Tesla's working on this. We already see it going on in Texas. We know it's happening in California. So this is why the energy business has so much room to grow, is exactly like reasons like this. The grid in many places needs to be upgraded. And I think Tesla is going to be a big piece of that. Oh, yeah. And then Sawyer. Toyota is going to focus on selling hydrogen-powered trucks and cars in Europe and China as part of a push to sell 200,000 of these vehicles by 2030, executives said on Tuesday. So sad. So sad. So, I mean, good for them for trying to be innovative. But, I think they're going to end up going out dying on the, I tried to be innovative thing, and that's the end of them. So again, you could go say it could be like Betamax versus VCR. VCR won out, Betamax died. HD DVD versus Blu-ray. Lots of these things going in that route. Sure, they want to go with hydrogen-powered trucks, but EVs, while you can say that there wasn't an infrastructure for charging, there was at least the electrical grid that was out there for Tesla to be able to tap into when it comes to the EV charging stations and tap off of that grid. So yes, there's a lot of infrastructure that still needs to be built up for that, but there's nothing at all for hydrogen. There's nothing in place. So they need to completely build from scratch. Now, again, I do say that when it comes to like Legacy Auto having to go into a factory and take their factory and revamp it to become an EV factory isn't as good as just building a factory from the ground up like Tesla has done. They show with the Fremont, very difficult. They can still squeeze some out and get better, but building a new factory is better. You can argue that maybe that's the same for hydrogen, but if nobody else is coming on to play that game in hydrogen, like with Tesla and EVs, where everybody else is coming into play, Toyota's got a huge hill ahead of them. Who else is going out there other than Nikola to come out and do hydrogen stuff? Nobody has really talked about it. So are they really going to have the support to make that happen? Are they going to have government support to make things happen? Are they going to have the funding to build up the infrastructure? I don't think so. Who knows? Time will tell, but I don't think that's going to happen. Elon asked to meet with the Malaysia PM, Giga Malaysia. So I was talking to Peggy about that, and I know that they're, Teslas are over there. Peggy sees them. See you later, Willie. So Peggy sees them, knows what's going on, but he did say that the talent really isn't there. And I don't know if they would have the right bodies there to put up a gigafactory there. So I don't know if we'll see a gigafactory or it's going to be an energy thing, or if he's just looking to try and do sales in Malaysia on a better level than they're currently doing. Again, Elon has met with a lot of heads of state recently, pretty much all of Europe, South Korea, Indonesia, now Malaysia, India. He is all over the world meeting with all of these people. Actually, a lot of them have come here, but either way, he's meeting with people from all over the world. There's a lot that Tesla's working on, a lot that Elon is working on. This is what Elon does, talks to these people, and think about all of these countries want Tesla there. So it's big, very big. Let's see what else we got. My situations, that's me. Yep, and this is what I was talking about before too. So, Jess Open Skies was talking about, all the S&P companies are going to be reporting their Q2 earnings in the last for the last 3 months, and they're going to give the guidance for the second half of this year. And those expectations and that guidance is going to be a huge signal to the market as to what we could expect for the second half. Now, something that I was bringing up previously is starting here in the US in September, anybody who has student loans, anybody who had been deferring their payments and the loan forgiveness time frame, that interest is going to start kicking in September. They have to start paying again in October. So anybody who has not been paying off their student loans now has these bills coming back in that they have to pay off. Who knows how much their student loans are going to be, but that's a significant chunk of money that they are no longer going to have to be able to spend on other things when it comes to, iPhones, computers, cars, anything like that. There's a lot of items that people are going to have to cut back on in order to pay for their student loans and get those back out there. So that there in itself could lead to a worse than expected Q4 earnings, because starting in October, that's the beginning of Q4. So Q4 earnings could be a bit uglier than a lot of people expect. So if they're focusing on that and they see that and they put that in their guidance, that could draw down the market quite a bit. Dean, this is good. So let me see. I read an article about TSLY and these types of covered calls. If I find out, we'll share with Mr. Article. Please do. Yes. I don't know enough compared to 228.23 price versus recent highs. So, and that's good. Please share it, Dean. I would appreciate that. I love reading both sides of the things. And Gort and I were looking at a few videos as well on YouTube, both sides of the coin. Guy who was negative on it. His video came out when it was 44 cents that they paid out per share. I reached out to him because that's when he had the video, because it started off at like almost $1 at the beginning of the year, 95 cents, and then it came down and there was 44 cents after a few months. And it's like, all right, has it already lost its thunder? Is it already gone? Now all of a sudden this month we're paying out $1.06 per share. So I asked him about it and I said, hey, do you still have the same feelings you had about it when you made that video? Now they're paying out $1.06. And he said, it's something to pay attention to. So not to say that he changed his mind on it, but it's a very volatile thing to be in. And it's definitely not. And as Gort and I had pointed out, if Tesla stock itself is going up, you're not going to make as much money on TSLY as you would holding the stock itself. Just not going to happen. You'll get a better return from just holding the stock itself. So based upon what I'm seeing in your comment here, Dean, from that article, that is the case. So going from February of the end of February to now, you would have made less money on TSLY than you would have on the stock itself. Now, the difference is, in order to make those profits on Tesla stock, you would have had to sell it. So if you're a swing trader, totally fine, you're doing well. I'm doing it for cash flow generation. So I'm doing both. I'm adding to TSLA and I'm looking for that cash flow generation from TSLY. Now, again, if we start to get that pullback coming on, you go another 6 months down the road. Let's say the stock does pull down to $200, just throwing it out there, not saying it's going to happen. But if we do pull down to $200, you can now look back to that February 28th timeframe and say your returns on TSLY were better than they were on the stock if you just held and did not sell at the peak. So, hindsight's always 2020. This is why you kind of have to take all the data. And this is why I look at both sides of things to determine which way I'm going to go with it in the long term. So where do I think it's going to go in the future? And again, if I think that the stock is going to pull back itself, I want to put my money into TSLY, make those dividends, because it's not going to come down as quickly as TSLA will. So while I may lose value in TSLY, it won't be as much as I will in the stock itself. And this way I can pull in the dividends to offset those losses. And then I can use that money as we pull out to put it back into Tesla as we come out of it. So again, that's my strategy, but I think that may be some of what the article is talking about, and they're absolutely right. You will not make as much on TSLY as TSLA is going up, typically, especially the way it ran the first 6 months of this year. This is another big one that I talked about this morning. So going into this from Zhong Wen, and Again, none of this is confirmed, but this is, oh, no, no, I know since she asked you why, Dean, and I saw that, and thank you for answering because I like to see stuff like that. Um, yeah, TSLY, I love it too. So, but yeah, looking at Zhongwen here, he's been pretty accurate on a lot of things. So, not to say that this is actually going to happen, but Tesla finalized the design of its next generation mass market electric car, tentatively called the Model 2. This is something we've been talking about for a very, very long time. And again, they may have set the Model 2 release price at $22,000 to $25,000. Again, right in the area that we've been talking about. The Mexican super factory plans to produce 2 million Model 2s for the year for per year for the U.S. market. Again, that's the number we were talking about. We look at the Mexican factory eventually producing 4 million, whether it's going to be all of that Model 2 or if it's going to be the other vehicle, because we know that Elon's already said they're going to be producing the next gen vehicles, multiple. Looks like there's 2 of them that will be coming out of Mexico. And the Model 2 is most likely going to be it. I don't know if it's going to be one's going to be a compact car, one's going to be a sedan, but both kind of on that same platform, or if one's going to be the van that we haven't even talked about and the Model 2. Either way, this is huge and just another piece of information that that it looks like we are going to be getting that compact car. And that, again, I think the Cybertruck is going to make a major impact. But I think this car here, this is the game changer. This is where that nail goes into the coffin of ICE vehicles, because while Tesla's average selling price is at price parity with ICE average selling prices, they still don't have that mass market vehicle in that sub $25,000 range. Then on top of it, you put that $22,000 to $25,000 vehicle out there, then you throw that EV tax credit on top of it. Now you're looking at a sub $20,000 vehicle. So that is huge. What was your largest holding prior to King Tesla? Man, prior to Tesla, I had Apple was big that I had. I was kind of even, but Apple I think was the biggest one that I had. So Apple, and I held on to Apple for quite a while. And for me, quite a while. It was like a year and a half. So it was a long-term hold for me. I was usually swinging out of things within a couple of months. So Apple was my longest. I made some good profits on that. I had a cost basis of 119, ended up selling out at 165, and took all of that money and put it into Tesla. And then Tesla at that point decided to completely tank last year. So hey, it happens, but I was able to get a few shares and then ended up, now we're at where we're at. So I'm back positive on it, but that Apple was my biggest. And again, I was mentioning it the other day, my going back 2 years when I started this channel, it was October of 2021 is when I started this channel, at least talking about Tesla more prevalently. And at the time, it was pre-split, of course. I had 3 shares. And I remember people were giving me grief because I only owned 3 shares. And I'm like, man, I got to up my game. I got to buy more. And the more I looked into Tesla, the more I learned about it, the more I wanted to buy. So it made total sense. So I appreciated that criticism. And I was able to get out there. And for me, I was kind of afraid of it. I didn't want to share that I had. It was like, I only have 3 shares. How can I be taken as legitimate? And then I kept building up and building up. And a lot of people were like, you know what, just be honest with what you have. You've got what you got. That's it. I had a small portfolio. And this is where I ended up bringing on a huge drawing from a lot of you guys, because many of us are smaller guys. Many of you guys are already Teslaonaires. That's awesome. But I've connected with so many of you who are like, hey, I'm just a little guy. I can only buy fractional shares. I only have, at the time, it was like, some people are like, I only have 5 shares. I only have 10. So I'm like, okay, there's a lot of us out there who aren't big guys, who don't have thousands of shares. It's awesome to do that. And you guys inspire us to get to that point. So thank you. And, now I'm at the point where I've got 71. And of course, that's post split. But man, it's nice to know and go back to look where you've come from. So I encourage you all as well. Sometimes are hard. We saw that big pullback last year. We go through some difficult times, but take a look at where you've come from. Go back and say, where were you 2 years ago? Have you made progress from that point? Maybe you bought at the high and you're still upside down. It happens. Can you buy more and lower your cost basis? That can help. Come up with a strategy that'll help you to get better. And that's all it is. It's a whole learning experience. And some just are more expensive than others. Let's see what else we got here. I do have to jump off shortly because I've got to go make dinner and then get to my son's soccer game. But we will go into this. Oh, here's another one. When it comes to BYD, profit per vehicle, this is an important one. This is one we talk about all the time, especially when it comes to legacy auto. Profit per Tesla vehicle is 8.5 times higher than that of BYD. That means that BYD has to sell 8.5 times as many vehicles as Tesla to make the same amount of profit. That's not efficiency. That is inefficiency. So that's something that you really need to pay attention to as well as, especially when Tesla Q comes out and says BYD is going to take over Tesla, they're going to run them over, and Tesla has no chance. It's like, well, sure, BYD is doing well. I encourage them to do well. It's awesome. I think all of the Chinese automotive makers are going to do well. But how well are they actually doing? What numbers are you looking at? If you're looking at just deliveries, you can say, sure, BYD is going to compete with Tesla. Okay. But when you look at profitability, it's not even close. Let's see what else we got. And then if you guys haven't seen it, I do have out my my latest Tesla and my price targets through 2033. So this video here, if you guys are on Twitter, if not, it's in my my playlists. You can check out my playlists and see it there. I think that's it. And then China, we mentioned it yesterday. Karav brought it up. China reporting the 74,212 sales in June, which is awesome. And that I think is pretty much all I've seen from Twitter. But let's see if there's anything new that has popped up. Let's see if there's anything new. Come on, update. There we go. Oh man, yeah, Twitter's fun. I did try Threads. Not to be, and Brian, yeah, my Tesla weekend. I'm going to try to have Brian on next week for our earnings call live stream. There we go. Big 88 stall Tesla supercharger being installed in Arizona. That's awesome. And that's, again, all these superchargers popping up like crazy everywhere. Yep. Farzad reiterating Model Y is the best-selling vehicle in the world. FSD, Omar is my FSD man. We need FSD subscription in Canada. Yeah, that's the whole thing is we really only have FSD here in the US. Like we need to get it in other countries. Like thinking about the impact it's making here in the US, wait till it gets into the other countries. It's going to be wild. Palantir. I got to talk to, if you guys are asking, want to know about Palantir, Peggy did a great video with Amit about it. So if you guys have any questions, check on that. DCA is the best long-term strategy. Absolutely. No questions about it. DCA is the best way to go. Proven fact. This isn't, I don't even have to say not financial advice. This is proven fact that dollar cost averaging into the market, as long as you're choosing companies that are, going to do well. Obviously, picking them is not as easy, but if you don't know, you can even start with an index fund, start with the S&P, start with the SPY, whatever you want to do, just dollar cost average into those. Over time, it will pay off. And I don't say over time like a year. Like this is looking out 10, 20, 30 years. You're looking at generational wealth. When talking with Adam, he pointed out, think about how long every generation is. Basically, typically, the average age somebody has a child at is around 30. So you figure that's the next generation is being born is 30 years. So every 30 years is a generation. So generational wealth is holding it for 30 years. Sounds like a long time, but think about the people who, bought some Bitcoin back in 2010, not thinking anything of it, totally forgot they even owned it. And now they're multimillionaires now. So thinking things like that, not to say that's going to happen with an index fund or whatever stock you purchase, but typically, historically, the market always goes up over time. So if that is the case, whatever you're going to be adding to, and whether, just making sure your companies aren't going under, making sure your company is going to be growing over time will come back. You can go back to the dot-com bubble and argue, hey, Cisco was doing great. They crashed at that point, and just now they have started to come back to that price that they were back at the dot-com bubble 23 years ago. Yes, but that's because, at that time, yes, that was one of those companies that crashed and didn't come back, but there's a ton that did. Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, all of those companies clearly would have been awesome buys back at that point. So even if you bought it before the crash, you'd still be significantly green on them now. So this is why DCA is the best strategy. And even with TSLY, that's what I'm going to basically do with it. But there's a little different timing game that you can play with the X date and all of that to take some money out of one place to put it into there, and then you can sell it after the X date because you still get credit for it, and then you take that money and use it in something else, then put it back into TSLY before the X date. So many different crazy strategies you can do. Takes a lot more effort that way, but it's a way to kind of double dip on your money along the way, especially if you have a bunch of different dividend stocks lined up and you time out those X dates. You can kind of shift money from one to the other. But again, you have to pay attention to what the value is of them, because if the value is going up or down, maybe you end up losing money or you don't make as much. It's a lot more math involved to do it that way. But that's why I kind of kept it simple to TSLA, TSLY, and TSLL. Oh, man. All right, folks, I got to jump off because I got to go make dinner, and I've got to get to my son's game for 6 p.m. Eastern time here. But I'll answer this one for Dominic, though. When do you think Elon will do a Twitter space about space? So I know he was supposed to be doing them regularly, and then he kind of stopped. I know he's been trying to do them. I don't know if it's because he's training for his fight with Zuck, but that I don't know. I will keep paying attention to see when he's going to be doing another space about it. If any of you guys know, toss it in the comments quick, or after I close the live stream, toss it up there so Dominic can see. But I know he was trying to do them regularly. I just haven't heard of one recently. So I would like to hear about that as well. Again, I think typically when we're seeing what's going on with Elon, we know that he's got, his CEO in place at Twitter right now. So he's back to really focusing. We've seen a lot more of Elon focused on Tesla at the moment, which is awesome because this is what a lot of people have been asking for. So typically, especially coming to the Q2 earnings call, there's a lot of stuff that he's probably focusing on to make sure it's good. He usually focuses hard at the end of the quarter to make sure things are running well. I didn't hear anything this time around about a massive push at the end of the quarter. But I know he's going to be getting ready for Q2 earnings. Once that's done, there's going to be other things going on, and maybe he's going to be focusing on SpaceX a little bit more after that. But otherwise, guys, I'm going to let you guys go here. Have yourselves a great evening. I'm going to try to do a recap tonight. I don't know if I will because of the game. And then tomorrow night, I do get my son as well. So I'll see when I can get a video out to you guys. This whole being off from work, being suspended, ended up working out really well because I got to spend more time with you guys. And I'm really looking forward to getting to the point where I can do it on a regular basis. So otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. We will talk to you.